I thought I was just cleaning my grandmother's attic, but what I found inside made me realize I never really lost her. She had been living in me all along. Martha hadn't planned to stay long, just a few hours, maybe less, just enough to sort through a few boxes, take what mattered, and close the door on a place that had been waiting quietly. For years, the attic smelled exactly the way she remembered: dust, old wood, something faintly sweet that lingered in the air like a memory that didn't want to leave. She stood at the top of the narrow stairs for a moment, letting her eyes adjust to the soft, filtered light coming through the small window, the same window her grandmother used to open every morning, no matter the season. Fresh air keeps a house alive, she would say, gently pushing it open, even in winter, even when the cold rushed in. And Martha smiled, just a little, without meaning to, before stepping forward. The floor creaked beneath her feet, slow, familiar, like the house recognizing her, or maybe remembering her. She moved carefully between the boxes, some neatly stacked, others slightly collapsed under the weight of time, each one holding something she hadn't thought about in years: old photographs, folded linens, a sewing kit she remembered watching her grandmother use late in the afternoon, when the sunlight would fall just right across her hands. "You don't rush things that matter," her grandmother would hum, not even looking up, the soft sound of a song under her breath, something old, something smooth. And Martha paused, her fingers brushing lightly over the edge of a wooden chest, because without thinking, she found herself doing the same thing, humming, barely audible, a melody she hadn't consciously remembered, but somehow knew. "Fly me to the moon." The words slipped out softly, almost like they had been waiting somewhere just beneath the surface, and she stopped, just for a second, surprised, not by the song, but by how natural it felt, how familiar, as if it had always belonged to her. She let out a quiet breath, almost a laugh, and shook her head slightly. "I didn't even realize I knew that," she whispered, though there was no one there to hear her, at least, no one she could see. She knelt down beside one of the boxes, opening it slowly, the cardboard soft at the edges, worn from years of being moved and then forgotten. Inside, neatly folded clothes, old dresses, scarves, each one carrying a softness that felt different from anything new. She picked up a blouse, light, delicate, and as she held it, her hands moved without thinking, smoothing the fabric, pressing gently along the seams, just the way her grandmother used to, careful, patient, as if the act itself mattered more than the result. And she froze again, her hands still resting on the cloth, because this time, she noticed it, really noticed it, the way her fingers moved, the rhythm, the quiet attention. It wasn't something she had learned, not consciously, not something anyone had taught her directly, and yet, it was there, as natural as breathing. She swallowed slowly, her throat tightening just a little, not with sadness, not exactly, but with something deeper, something harder to name. She sat back on her heels, the blouse still in her hands, and for a moment, she didn't look around the attic. She didn't think about the boxes or the things she needed to do. She just sat there, feeling it, this strange, quiet realization beginning to take shape. "You always fix things so gently." Her grandmother's voice again, soft, warm, the way it used to sound when Martha was younger, frustrated, trying to rush through something. "Not everything needs force, some things just need time." Martha closed her eyes briefly, not to escape, but to stay with it, to let the memory settle without pushing it away. And when she opened them again, the attic didn't feel the same. It wasn't just a place filled with old things anymore. It felt alive, not in a way she could explain, not in a way that made sense, but in a way she could feel, quietly, steadily. She stood up slowly, placing the blouse back in the box with more care than she had intended, and continued moving through the space. But now, everything felt different. Every small action, every movement, carried a kind of awareness she hadn't noticed before. The way she adjusted a stack of books so they sat evenly, the way she brushed dust from the surface of an old mirror, not quickly, not impatiently, but with a kind of quiet respect. And then, without realizing it, she began humming again. The same song, soft, steady, filling the silence in a way that didn't feel like noise, but like presence. And she stopped this time, not out of surprise, but because she understood something, just a little, not fully, not all at once. but enough to feel it settling inside her. She wasn't just remembering her grandmother. She wasn't just surrounded by things that belonged to her. It was something else, something deeper, something that didn't live in objects or photographs, or even in memory alone. She walked toward the window, the lights softer now, the afternoon, beginning to lean into evening, and she reached out, almost without thinking, pushing it open, just a little, the same way her grandmother used to, letting the air move through the room, slow, gentle, alive. And as she stood there, the breeze touching her face, carrying with it the faint scent of something familiar, something she couldn't quite place, she felt it again. That quiet shift, that soft understanding, not spoken, not explained, just there. And for the first time since she had arrived, Martha didn't feel like she was here to clean or sort or let go of anything. She felt like she was here to notice, to listen, to recognize something that had been there all along, waiting patiently for her to see it, not in the boxes, not in the attic, but in herself. And the thought came to her, slowly, gently, like something she had always known but never said out loud. Maybe her grandmother hadn't left in the way she had believed. Maybe she had simply changed, becoming quieter, less visible, but no less present. And Martha stood there, by the open window, the soft hum of a song still lingering in the air, wondering how many other pieces of her were still here, waiting in the smallest movements, the simplest habits, the parts of herself she had never stopped to question until now. Martha didn't realize how much time had passed. The light had shifted softer now, leaning toward evening, and the attic felt warmer somehow, not in temperature, but in presence, like the air itself had begun to carry something more than dust and memory. She moved deeper into the space, slower than before, more aware of every small movement, every quiet sound beneath her feet, until she came across an old wooden trunk she didn't remember seeing as a child. It sat slightly apart from the others, not hidden, but not meant to be noticed easily either. And something about it made her pause, not out of hesitation, but recognition, the kind that doesn't come from logic, but from somewhere quieter, deeper. She knelt in front of it, brushing a thin layer of dust from the surface, her fingers tracing the grain of the wood, and again, without thinking, she smoothed it gently, the same way she had with the blouse earlier. And this time, she didn't stop herself. She let the motion continue, slow, careful, almost reverent, as if the act itself was part of something she was only beginning to understand. The latch resisted at first, stiff from years of being closed, but she didn't force it. She waited, adjusted her grip, tried again, softer, and it opened, with a quiet sound that seemed louder than it should have been, like something long held had finally been released. Inside, neatly arranged, as if no time had passed at all. Letters, bundles tied with ribbon, photographs, a small music box, and a stack of folded papers, yellowed at the edges. Martha's breath caught, not sharply, just enough to make her aware of it. She reached in slowly, picking up one of the bundles of letters, the ribbon soft but worn, and as she untied it, her fingers moved with a familiarity that felt almost unsettling now. Not because it was strange, but because it wasn't, because it felt like something she had done before, many times, even though she hadn't, at least, not that she could remember. The first letter she unfolded was dated decades ago, the handwriting unmistakably her grandmother's, gentle, steady, every word placed with care, and Martha began to read. Not quickly, not scanning, but slowly, the way the words seemed to ask to be read. Today I noticed something small, the letter began. The way she watches me when she thinks I don't see, the way she imitates the smallest things without realizing it. It makes me wonder, how much of us continues in ways we never get to witness? Martha stopped, her eyes lingering on the page, something tightening in her chest, not painful, but undeniable. She turned to the next letter, and then another, each one carrying pieces of a life she thought she already understood, but didn't, not like this, not from this side. There were notes about ordinary days, simple observations, small reflections, and woven through them, something deeper, something that grew clearer the more she read. Her grandmother had been watching, not just living, not just caring, but noticing, paying attention to the smallest details, the way Martha held a spoon, the way she folded her sleeves, the the way she hummed when she was alone. She doesn't know it yet, one line read. But she carries me already, not in memory, but in habit, in instinct, in the quiet things she doesn't question. Martha closed her eyes, just for a moment, the words settling into her in a way that felt almost overwhelming, not because they were too much, but because they were exactly enough. She had spent so many years believing that what she lost was something outside of her, something gone, something she could only visit through memory. But now, sitting there, surrounded by these quiet truths, she began to see something else, something she hadn't allowed herself to consider before. Maybe nothing had been taken from her. Maybe something had been given, slowly, gently, over time, in ways so subtle. She had never stopped to notice. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for another item in the trunk, the small music box, its surface worn smooth from years of use. She turned it carefully, and a soft melody filled the attic, fragile, almost hesitant, but unmistakable, the same tune, the same one she had been humming earlier, and her breath caught again, this time deeper, more certain, because now she knew. It wasn't coincidence, it wasn't memory alone, it was something that had stayed, something that had been carried forward without her realizing it. She pressed her lips together, her eyes filling slowly, not with sudden grief, but with something more complex, something layered, recognition, love, and a kind of quiet ache that came from understanding too late, and yet not too late at all. You don't have to try so hard to remember me. Her grandmother's voice again, softer than ever, almost like a thought that wasn't entirely her own. I never asked you to hold on. I just hoped you would live in the way I showed you. Martha let out a breath she didn't know she had been holding, her shoulders lowering slightly, the tension she had carried for so long beginning to loosen. Not all at once, not completely, but enough to feel the shift. She looked around the attic again. The same space, the same objects, but nothing felt the same anymore. It wasn't a place of endings or things left behind. It was something else, something alive, something continuing. And for the first time, the emptiness she had carried for so long began to change. It didn't disappear, but it opened, like space making room for something new, something that had been there all along, waiting patiently for her to see it. She gathered the letters carefully, placing them back in the trunk, not because she was finished with them, but because she understood this wasn't something to rush. This wasn't something to take all at once. It was something to return to slowly over time. Just like everything her grandmother had ever taught her. She closed the lid gently, her hand resting on it for a moment longer, and then she stood, the attic quieter now, but not empty. Never empty. Not in the way she used to believe. She walked back toward the window, the evening light now soft and golden, and as she passed the mirror, she caught her reflection again. But this time, she didn't just see herself, not in the way she had before. She saw something layered, something shared. The way her shoulders softened slightly, the way her hands rested calmly at her sides, the faint trace of a smile that came without effort. And for a moment, she didn't feel alone, not in memory, not in presence, but in something deeper, something that didn't need to be named. And she understood now, not fully, not completely, but enough to feel it settle. Legacy wasn't something left behind. It wasn't something you found in boxes, or letters, or photographs. It was something that lived quietly, inside you, shaping the way you moved, the way you spoke, the way you saw the world. And Martha stood there, the last light of the day resting softly around her, feeling something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Not closure, not relief, but connection, deep, steady, and alive. And she realized this wasn't about letting go. It never had been. It was about finally seeing what had never left. The attic had grown quieter, not the kind of silence that feels empty, but the kind that holds something gently, like it's waiting for you to understand it fully. Martha didn't rush this time. She stayed there, standing by the window, the last light of the day fading slowly into something softer, deeper, and she could feel it, something inside her shifting again. Not like before, not subtle anymore. This felt heavier, fuller, as if everything she had touched, everything she had read, everything she had begun to notice, was leading to something she hadn't been ready to face until now. She turned back toward the trunk, her steps slower, more certain, and knelt beside it again. This time, not out of curiosity, but intention, she opened it once more. Carefully, almost like she was asking permission, and beneath the letters, tucked deeper, there was something she hadn't seen before, a single envelope, thinner, more worn, her name written on it. Not as a child, but as she was now. Martha, the handwriting unmistakable, steady, patient, waiting, her breath caught. Not suddenly, but in a way that made her aware of everything at once. The room, the air, the quiet beating of her heart. She reached for it slowly, her fingers trembling just enough to make the moment feel real, undeniable, and she held it there for a second, not opening it yet, just feeling the weight of it, as if it carried more than paper, more than words, as if it carried time itself. She swallowed softly and opened it. The paper inside folded once, carefully, like everything her grandmother had ever done, and she began to read, slowly, the way she knew she had to. If you're reading this, then I am no longer there the way you remember me. The words were simple, but they landed deeply, settling somewhere she couldn't quite name. And I know you. You will think you have lost something, something important, something you cannot replace. Martha's eyes blurred slightly, but she didn't stop. She kept reading, her breath quieter now, more measured. But listen to me. You have not lost me, not in the way you believe. I never wanted to be something you look back on with sadness. I wanted to be something you carry forward, without even trying. Her hand tightened slightly around the paper. The words no longer just something she was reading, but something she was feeling, something that was already true before she understood it. You will forget the sound of my voice. You will forget the exact way I looked at times. That is how life moves, and that is okay. Because what matters is not what you remember, but what remains. Martha closed her eyes briefly, the sentence echoing quietly inside her. What remains? And she could feel it now, everywhere, in the way she stood, the way she breathed, the way she had moved through the day without realizing she was following something already inside her. I have watched you grow. I have seen the way you try to be strong, the way you carry more than you need to, and I want you to know, you do not have to hold on to me tightly. You do not have to search for me in old things or quiet rooms, because I am not there. Her breath caught again, but she kept reading, slower now, each word heavier, more certain. I am in the way you smooth your clothes without thinking, in the way you hum when the world feels too loud, in the way you notice small kindness, even when no one else does. I am there, in those moments, the ones you don't question. The tears came then, not suddenly, not uncontrollably, just gently, as if they had been waiting for permission. Legacy is not what we leave for people, it is what we leave in them. And I have left myself in you, not so you remember me, but so you can live, fully, gently, without fear of being alone. Martha lowered the letter slightly, her hands no longer trembling, but steady, grounded, like something inside her had finally found its place. She wasn't searching anymore. She wasn't trying to hold on to something that was gone. Because it wasn't gone, it had never been. It had simply changed quietly, patiently, into something she could carry without even realizing it. She looked around the attic one last time. The boxes, the dust, the fading light, and none of it felt heavy anymore. None of it felt like something she needed to sort or let go of. It all felt complete, exactly as it was. She folded the letter carefully, placing it back in the envelope, not to hide it, but to keep it in the way it was meant to be kept, not as something fragile, but as something understood. She stood slowly, her movements calm, unhurried, and walked back toward the window. The sky now deepening into evening, the first lights appearing in the distance, and she smiled, not out of memory, not out of habit, but out of something real, something present, something that belonged to her now, and yet wasn't only hers. And for the first time since she had walked into that attic, she didn't feel like she was saying goodbye. She felt like she was continuing something that had started long before her, and would move forward, quietly, through her, in ways she might never fully see, but would always feel. And as she turned to leave, her hand resting lightly on the doorframe, she paused, just for a second, not because she needed to, but because she wanted to, and in that small moment, she understood everything she had been trying to find, not in words, not in answers, but in something much simpler, much quieter. She wasn't alone. She had never been, and she never would be, because the people we love, the ones who shape us in the smallest ways, don't disappear. They remain, not beside us, but within us, in the way we live, the way we choose, the way we love others without even realizing where it came from. And as Martha stepped down the stairs, leaving the attic behind, she didn't feel like she was closing a chapter. She felt like she was stepping into something softer, something deeper, something that didn't need to be explained, only lived, and somewhere in the quiet rhythm of her steps, in the soft melody she hummed under her breath, in the gentle way she moved through the world, a part of her grandmother continued, not as memory, not as loss, but as life itself, unfolding slowly, beautifully in her and beyond her, in ways that would never truly end.